Welcome to Out of Bounds right here on KTLA Plus. Woo, we got something special for you. Major League Baseball season is here, ready to go. We're going to break it all down for you with the one and only Bret Boone. Booney is one of the best. Three-time All-Star, Gold Glover, played with a handful of teams, most notably the Seattle Mariners. He knows everything about his baseball. His brother, Aaron, manager of the Yankees. So we got to get right to this. We got to talk to Booney. All right, back again on Out of Bounds. He is Mr. Baseball. He is Bret Boone. He knows everything baseball. What's the podcast again? Booney. Your podcast.
My podcast, Bret Boone Podcast. Check it out. It's an Odyssey original. Have a lot of fun with it. Comes out once a week now.
All right, so we played golf. It's like our yearly thing now. It's like our second year in a row we played golf over at the Hogue Classic. So we know baseball is here finally. Let's kind of like break things down. When you look at the game today compared to yesteryear, before, you know, how do you look at it now?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been a journey for me. Starting 7, 8, 9 years ago. You know, at that point, I was 7, 8, 9 years into retirement, and you see a lot of changes going on in the game. And you know, as somebody that played years ago, it's like you want to keep things as much as things change. You want to keep as much as you can the same. I have to admit, I've gone into it with an open mind on this side of life, this side of retirement, and I've really embraced and liked the changes that they've been made. That in my mind, I thought, oh no, I'm a purist. I'm old school. I like things a certain way. I think a lot of the changes in this game have been great. You know, I went back on the field a year ago as the hitting coach for the Texas Rangers. The players are definitely different than my generation, which we were probably different than my father's generation. But they were great kids and they were fun. They just have come up in a different atmosphere, a different culture. But baseball's still baseball, and it's great. And you know, for me, it was good getting back on the field. It was like I had 13 kids, my hitters, and I'm living and dying with every at bat with them, just like you do your son in Little League or 14U. So it was good to get back on the field. Hope to be back on the field again in the future. But after being out for a while, it just reminded me that this is the greatest game in the world.
It is definitely a great game. What do you, okay, so you talked about like being a purist, and what do you like in the game today that's been changed? I like the pitch clock thing. Do you like that?
I'll tell you what, I was about as opposite of the pitch clock as you could be. It's amazing how well not only the players have transitioned, and it was like clockwork for them. It was no big deal. And all of a sudden we're going to have a 2 hour and 30-minute game. So when I'm on the field in uniform, I can make plans because I know when the game's going to be over. In the media, we know if we're going to watch a game, we're going to watch it. It's going to probably, if it starts at 7, it's going to be over at 9:30, and we're going to be able to go about our business. Going into it, I thought it was going to be a nightmare. Players aren't going to be able to handle it. Boy, was I wrong. Pleasantly surprised again. I think that's what I'm talking about. A lot of these changes that I've been very resistant to, I've learned to go into now. If there's going to be a change in the game, I'm very open-minded because I've been wrong many times. So I think the game needs to progress. It's got to go with the times. I never thought I'd ever is it the ABS, the automated?
I was going to ask you about that, the strike thing.
I'd never thought I'd ever be on board with that. I love the human element. I love the umpire. They're the best in the world. But as we progress as a society, as the technology gets that good, and it is that good, I get sick of watching a game and listening to the commentators complaining about a pitch that hit the bottom corner of this little imaginary white box we've drawn, and the whole inning becomes about that pitch. Whereas in my day, before the pitch, before all this technical, it was a good pitch or it was a bad pitch. That's a zone today. That's the way the game was. So I think with the technology progressing at the pace that it's progressing, I think this is the only way to do it. You're going to start where the players can contend a pitch or a pitcher or a catcher. You get two challenges. I think every time you're right, you keep your challenge. If you're wrong, like the other sports, and we're going along those lines. I think eventually you're going to go to, it's going to be an automated strike zone. The computer's going to do it. And as long as that computer and the technology is good enough to have that strike zone perfect for a Jose Altuve as it is for an Aaron Judge, as long as the technology can keep up with that, I'm all for it. And as a player, as a hitter, before the game, the question would be when we're, us hitters would be who's behind the plate tonight? You know what I mean? Umpire wise, there's hitters
Right.
umps, there's pitchers up. That all goes by the wayside. You're going to know, you're going to have an internal clock that tells you when you step in that box, you have an idea anyway. You watch these hitters this year, they'd come back to the bench, say, Booney, that pitch was outside. And more times than not, I checked the tape and it was just outside that box. So these guys are really good. They know what's a strike, what's not a strike, just as we did. But now every night's going to be the same umpire. It's going to be the same exact strike zone. It's not, you're not going to have that going back to the dugout, taking a strike three, complaining, saying he screwed me. You're going to say, no, that's the way it was. It's a strike. So I went from completely against it to now, as long as the technology keeps progressing, I'm all for it. I think it's the way of the future.
I mean,
and I think we're going to see it shortly.
Yeah, the home plate umpire is just going to become like an umpire at second base then, and if based on your
Absolutely.
right?
He's going to control the game. He's going to control the pace of the game.
Yeah.
He's going to be for key plays at the plate.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He's going to be there. But calling balls and strikes. And you know what? I see the criticism, and these umpires today are so good. And I've talked to a bunch of retired umpires that were in my generation. Joe West comes to mind. He says these guys are so good today. They train and they know the angles, and they are so good today. Yet all I hear is criticism. And I tell, people that criticize the umpires, I said, could you imagine with the stuff that's in the game today, the velocity, the amount of tilt on the breaking balls, and you've got to call it in this fraction of a second, and you can't be wrong with all the technology and lasers we have around. You're in the stands, people watching TV. Everybody can become an expert now because everything's super slow-mo. Everything's right there in front of you. So I can sit at home on my couch, and I'm the greatest umpire of all time. I just think it's gotten to a point where it's not fair because these umpires, as much as we'd like to complain and say, oh, they're this, they're that, they're actually really good at what they do.
I mean, they really are elite. And people, I remember as a kid, they were like when they pay you $15 to call like a game. You finished with your little league game or senior league game, you go call a game. These guys are so good at it. I wonder what makes them so good to that level. Their eye, you think? I mean, you're around the game.
Well, no, I think it's like anything else. I mean, you train in a particular field, you got to be passionate about it, and you go through these schools, almost like a Q school for a golfer. Yep. And only the strong survive. Only the best of the best move on to the next round. So I try to explain that to people all the time when they complain about umpires. I said, listen, at the highest level, there's going to be the best umpire in baseball, and there's going to be the worst. Okay. And when we hold them to that big league standard, the worst is going to get a little more criticism, but he's still the worst of the best in the world. If you know what I'm saying.
No, yeah.
It's no different than any other profession out there. You got the best heart surgeon on earth and the worst. The worst, if I'm in an emergency and he's around, I want him working on me versus the guy next door. So it is what it is. I mean, we all get critiqued, and rightfully so. We play this game for a lot of money, or did. I don't play anymore. But, if you want to be a big boy and you want to be at the big league level, you got to be able to handle some criticism. But at the same time, some of it's a little too much. Because it really doesn't match their ability level because they are actually, like I said, they are really good.
And how about the bases they made bigger? Obviously.
That was kind of, to me, that was kind of silly. It was kind of that, I don't know. I think about, all right, why do we have to make the bases bigger? Then I thought about the advantages, and I thought, well, if I'm on first, that base is bigger, so I'm a little closer to second base on a steal. That's an advantage for the runner. Home to first, I don't think there's really a big advantage. But remember Pee Wee Herman when back in the day? You'll remember him, right? Where he had all these oversized utensils. Like he'd have this big cereal bowl with a big fork. That's all I could think about when they made the big bases. Bases, kind of silly. Didn't matter whether they did it for me. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But now, when you go out there and you see the bases, it really doesn't catch your eye. You get used to it, and it seems like they've been there all along.
What kind of team, before we get into specific teams, what kind of team wins in today's game, you think?
Well, I think, I think the Dodgers obviously have won two in a row. To win two World Series in a row, I can't explain to people how hard it is to actually win a World Series, let alone two in a row.
Right.
I think they're the closest thing to those late '90s Yankees teams as far as being a dynasty. They have that swagger, but not egocentric. It's a quiet confidence, and you can only get that from winning World Series. I've been on three or four really good teams in my career. I was on a '99 Braves team that we went wire to wire, won 106 games. And I'll tell you, the mental edge you have over your opponent because they know they're playing you. I'd been on the other side of those '90s Braves team, being the opponent, knowing when we go to Atlanta, man, these guys are good. They don't have to say anything; they just look at you. You know they're good. I've been in that postseason in Yankee Stadium when those great teams were put together, and I knew we went in there and these guys are good. There's just a mental edge you have with winning, and I think the Dodgers have obtained that. The thing I saw in a year ago, I looked at everybody, and we'd leave a series and I'd look at a team, I'd assess them in my mind, and I'd say, the Philadelphia Phillies came through mid-season to Texas, and they left an impression on me. I said, that's a good team right there. The Dodgers obviously were a good team. The Yankees they were kind of hit and miss. The Yankees, I thought they were definitely a playoff team. I saw the Toronto Blue Jays late, and I don't know if it was September, but they didn't overwhelm me with talent. But I thought they have a cohesiveness, a team approach. They've got something special going on. The city of Toronto was on fire at the time. I mean, it was crazy. Everything was Blue Jays. And the one thing they did that stood out to me, they put the ball in play. These guys all put the ball in play. They kept it going. They weren't walking back, taking strike three too often. Another thing, Seattle Mariners, another real talented team that I saw a year ago. Actually, I thought was the class of the American League when it came down to it. Toronto ended up beating them because they did the little things a little bit better. But I think that's something that going forward in the game today, you're going to see become a thing again, putting the ball in play, giving yourself a chance, especially in big situation in situational type hitting positions. It's not okay to walk back to the dugout and complain about the strike. Well, you're not going to be able to complain about the strike because of what we started the show with. You're going to have a computer calling balls and strikes. But I think putting the ball in play, especially in situational type hitting situations, I think is going to be a big thing you see going forward in the game.
All right, we're on with Bret Boone on Out of Bounds. When we come back right after this, we're going to talk Dodgers baseball, Angels, and the rest of baseball. And Booney, we got to ask him about the chain. There's a story behind the chain.
Yes, I wore this for David Pingalore.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
We're going to be back after this. All right, so here we are back with Bret Boone on Out of Bounds. Okay, before I ask you about the chain, let's talk Dodgers. Three-peat, last time that's been done, you were playing Yankees, right?
Yeah.
So that's hard to do. But they're the team to beat, though, Bret.
Absolutely, and they've earned that, and they are the team to beat. If you put me on the spot, I'll take the field against the Dodgers because statistically nobody wins three in a row.
Right.
But yes, but if I've got to take one team right now, you're forcing me to take a team. I got to take the Dodgers, and the reason the Dodgers are so good. First of all, it's that mental edge they have over everybody else. There's that swag that they've earned by winning two World Series in a row. So when people take the field, there's already a tiny bit of an advantage because of the amount of success this particular group of guys has. That is a very talented team on paper if you look at it, obviously, but there's more to it than that. Talented teams, that doesn't mean you just win a World Series. I was on an 0-1 Mariner team that won 116 games. We had that intimidation factor. When we took the field, I could feel the other team almost if we were down in a game, they'd come to us because we had that aura about it. It's something special. This Dodger team, obviously a ton of talent up and down the lineup, up and down the rotation. But I think that first advantage is that mental edge they have. Like you, they don't have to say anything, but it's kind of like, we won two in a row, and we're the favorite to win the third one in a row. And that's something. That's an edge. You're always looking for an edge in this game. That's an edge the Dodgers have. And then you talk about the talent. They're so deep. You've got a ball club where Shohei Ohtani is the third, fourth, fifth starter, whatever it may be. When on every other team he's the number one or he's the number two. The depth of that roster, especially when it comes to pitching, is they have the ability to replace a star pitcher with another top level pitcher. Every organization doesn't have that ability. So I'd say what makes the Dodgers different now is just their depth. They're just deeper than every other team in the game. And I think in a time, the day and age where there are a lot of injuries, let's be honest, there's a lot of guys that go down an awful lot. So that 5-man rotation that you start the season with in today's game turns into a 2-man rotation right away. But these Dodgers so deep, they go 7, 8, 9 deep. Then they'll throw unbelievable bullpen at you, which they did in the postseason last year. They're as good or better than everybody else in every facet of the game. So I'm not saying they're going to repeat again because that's pretty unlikely to do it 3 times in a row. But if I had to pick a team, I got to pick the Dodgers.
And it'd be hard to pick really against them because.
No, yeah.
How about, Tyler Glasnow had a great postseason with them. Kind of another guy.
How about Yamamoto?
Well, yeah.
Yamamoto turned into the best pitcher on earth.
Yeah.
And that was, by the way, one of the best World Series I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, that game 7, awesome. That was just ridiculous. The whole series was ridiculous. Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Yamamoto coming in there and comes out of the bullpen. I can remember him.
Go ahead.
I can remember him running out of the bullpen. Here he goes.
Well, it was kind of like Bumgarner from 2014 with the San Francisco Giants. It's just a Herculean performance when you needed it the most. We know what kind of pitcher Glasnow is. We know what Yamamoto is. I know Snell's going to start on the injured list.
Yep.
So you got one of the best pitchers in the world on the injured list, and the Dodgers, they have the ability not to worry about it because they're so stacked and they can weather the storm. They get Snell back, even if they get him back at the All-Star break. Now they got Snell, and boom, they're off to the races, headed towards the postseason again. So they're tough. They're tough. They're going to, who do they add in the bullpen? You bring in Diaz, one of the best closers in the game. And, oh, by the way, you sign Mr. Tucker to come over and play the outfield, along with some other all-stars. So it's just a really good team that seems not to ever go backwards from year to year.
Now, shifting the other team, obviously, in our market, the Angels. Fascinating.
Yeah.
You got Suzuki in there. 1-year deal, by the way, as a manager, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, it gave you a lot of confidence taking the job there. What kind of a microscope's he going to have on him?
I know, yeah.
I just think ownership, the way it's going, it's kind of in disarray, if that makes sense. And you hear the whispers, oh, we're going to sell the Angels. Oh, okay, now we're not going to sell them. We're bringing a manager. He's going on a 1-year deal, kind of with a gun to his head, is do good or else you're gone too. You traded away, your biggest home run threat a year ago in Taylor Ward. I don't know. I could say one thing. Offensively, they were pretty good last year. And they gave us tough. In Texas, we had a real good pitching staff. And those Angels gave us fits, especially in Anaheim. They were extra tough. But I think long-term, as far as the 2026 season, 162 games, I don't think they become a real factor in that AL West.
I remember we were talking during the season, and I was asking if about the Angels, and you said they give us fits hitting.
They gave us fits. They really did. And well, it wasn't necessarily that. It's just it seemed like every game we played them, we'd go up, they'd come get us. We'd go up again, they'd come get us, and it was like we could never put them away. They just kept coming at you. Offensively, what they did a year ago, they were pretty impressive in the times that I saw them. I think I played against them in 3 series.
So
with the Rangers.
So right now, as we kind of wind down out of bounds, the biggest threat to the Dodgers in the National League.
National League, Mets.
Okay.
Can it all go right from they bring over Peralta to really bolster the top of the rotation over there? Peralta's tremendous. The young man that came over from the Milwaukee Brewers. Bo Bichette signed that big deal coming over from the Blue Jays. Marcus Semien, who's one of my favorite guys in Texas. He's just a pro to kind of anchor that infield, give a little insight, a real steadying presence. Louis Robert Jr., is he ever going to live up to his talent level? We'll see. He came over from the White Sox. So you're just a lot of moving parts. But I'll tell you what, I think they're pretty good. I think for me, they're the favorite in a crazy National League East. I think the American League East, National League East are going to be two of the premier leagues. I think there's going to be battles there. But if anybody could give the Dodgers a run, I got to say the Mets. I can't think of anybody else. The other people that could give them a run in the World Series probably would come out of the AL West or the Seattle Mariners.
So okay, so Seattle is maybe comes out of the American League.
I think going into the season, I would pick Seattle as, for me, what I saw a year ago, best team in the American League. Now, you're going to have a Boston fans yelling. You're going to have Yankee fans yelling. You're going to have the defending American League champion Blue Jay fans yelling. But from what I saw, that Mariner team, and they got a lot of experience last year. They were one game away from going to the World Series. Blue Jays beat them. They got a lot of experience with that young pitching staff, start to finish, and that offense. Wow. If might be the year Julio Rodriguez put up the numbers that I think that superstar caliber of player is capable of doing, this might be the year he does it.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. The chain. There's a story behind the chain, Booney.
The chain.
We were playing golf together.
David and I were playing. We were a twosome. We won our match, by the way. Who'd we beat?
We beat Henry DiCarlo, our weather guy.
Henry?
We beat Henry
Tell
and
Henry I
Jaws.
said hello.
Jaws,
Yes.
I call him Jazzy Jeff, but Jaws, the DJ.
Jaws is the DJ. The DJ. 600,000 Instagram followers, by the way. Anyway, we pull up to a tee box, and they were giving away chains. So they said, David, Brett, what chain would you like, the gold or the silver? I said, well, is it real gold? Is it 14 karat gold? They said, no. I said, well, then I'll take the silver. Now, if it's real gold, I'm going to take the gold. We're going to melt it down. We made some money today. But anyway, I told Dave coming on KTLA, which I love coming on, I'd put the chain on for him. Here you are.
Bret Boone, thank you very much. I'm going to wrap up with some final thoughts after this. Booney with the chain. Thank you.
With the chain.
With the chain.
I'll take it. I'll take it off now.
All right, Bret Boone, you saw all about the silver chain, how we got the chain, but I'm not wearing any chain. But he was very insightful for sure. I love the top of this Out of Bounds episode where he, as a purist, now he likes some of the changes that baseball's made. Everybody loves that pitch clock because, like you said, 2.5 hours or so, you're out of the ballpark or you're done watching on TV and go out to dinner and make plans because some of those games used to go 4.5 hours. It was ridiculous. And he wrapped it up there, kind of Dodgers. Of course, they're the team to beat. Bret Boone. Catch him on his Bret Boone podcast as well. For now, on Out of Bounds, right here on KTLA Plus, I'm David Pingalore. Thank you for joining me.